Hello and welcome to the Outcry Theatre Podcast. This is Jason Johnson-Spinos filling in for regular host Becca Johnson-Spinos. Today we're discussing Outcry Youth Theatre's upcoming production of Cummins and Scoullar's The Little Prince, based on the classic children's book by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I'm here with the four main characters from The Little Prince. Do you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves and say what character you're playing?
Hi, I'm Isaac and I'm playing the Little Prince.
Hello, I'm Brayden Lawrence and I'm playing the Aviator.
Hello, I'm Jordan Battey and I play the Little Prince.
And I'm Giulia Garbani and I'm also playing the Aviator.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about your character?
Okay, so the Aviator is about mid-30s and he lands in the Sahara Desert and he finds, to his surprise, a little prince, and the little prince leads him through kind of becoming a child again and reliving his childhood experiences, which as a child were pushed away by grown-ups so that he could become what they would call an essential grown-up. So it's kind of about the Aviator's journey and him being a very pristine and proper grown-up at the beginning, and then the Little Prince transforming him into a more fun and childlike grown-up.
So the Little Prince comes from another planet where he used to live with a rose who he loved. And in the beginning of the show, he meets the Aviator on planet Earth after he's been traveling around the universe for about a year. And throughout the story, he tells the Aviator about all of his adventures and journeys to get him to that point. And he kind of teaches the Aviator what it means to be a child and what's important in life and helps transform him.
The Aviator is a character who is a pilot, but as a child was a little bit of an artist, and kind of comes back to that after he meets the Little Prince. Giulia, as an artist, what was it like taking on this part?
So throughout the whole process, I kind of related to Aviator with the whole, whenever you tell somebody, oh, I'm into this or I'm into art specifically, there's the tendency for specifically adult people to kind of shove that aside and be like, that's not a real profession though. Like, you're not actually going to make that your job, right? And so I feel like that was helpful in me really channeling Aviator's frustration with the fact that he didn't really get to do what he wanted. Like, he had to suck it up and just become this other person for the sake of being, like Brayden said, an essential grown-up to help society, have a good job, that sort of thing. And I just think it helped me connect to Aviator more.
The Little Prince is a really famous book that has been read for generations of people. What was it like taking on such an iconic character of the Little Prince? And did you know about the book before you did this play?
It was actually kind of fun taking on the role of the Little Prince because I really connected to him a lot. And before, I didn't know it was a book, but now that I know it was, I started reading it. And it's pretty cool.
I've heard of The Little Prince before, just the story in general and also the book. Although I had never really dug deep into it, I had just kind of heard of this idea of The Little Prince. But I think reading the script really drew me into that idea, and I've tried to learn more about the original book and how that's changed the character in the show and how it's different, and just inspiration for that. And I think it's also super interesting to play a character that so many people know, because I can put my own twists on it since I am 14 and I'm not 7 or whatever. It's interesting for me to try and take his characteristics and bring it to life in a different way.
This is one of the larger age differences I think we've had, but for a lead character in a show, with Isaac being 10 and Jordan being 14. What's it been like for you, Isaac, to be doubles with Jordan? What's that been like for you?
Well, in the actual play, she really helped me a lot. whenever I need clarification. Though in our free time, like, I really don't understand her. I don't understand teenagers in general.
I love you, Isaac.
And what's it been like for you, Jordan?
I actually think it's so fun. I'm usually, like, in the past, I've been paired with people who are older than me as a double. And I love having someone who's younger than me as a double because I actually find a lot of inspiration from Isaac since he is a lot closer to the age of the Little Prince. I think it's super helpful to work alongside someone who has kind of that more connection and learn from him and also just make a new friend.
The Aviator is the character that leads us through this journey and connects with the audience. What has that been like, and what other challenges have you had with that character?
This is my first narrator role, so I've never had an opportunity, or I've never played a narrator where I'm talking straight to the audience, and also the different moments of breaking in and out of the story to help the audience follow along and give explanation to certain things. It's been a little bit of a challenge, but I also think that it's really cool that I'm being able to connect with the audience and sort of lead them all through a really compelling story.
After playing Poe, which is like a really big narrator role, that really helped me kind of establish a better connection to the audience when I have the chance to just kind of talk to them and make a connection with them in the story. But one challenge that playing Poe in the past presented is being more light. And I get that note a lot of where, like, I just need to kind of be more cheerful. And like, Aviator and Poe are two completely different people. So sometimes it's kind of hard to just get past the serious narrator vibe to, oh, I'm really invested in this story, since Aviator is a lot more present in the story than Poe was.
So both of my little princes did something a little extra to be ready for this role. Do you guys want to say what that is?
So, I originally had black hair, though I bleached it to make it blondish hair because of this one line in the play. And that was a big thing I did. It was a big change.
Do you want to go further with that? Has it been different for you at school or anything like that? How's it been?
People at school, like, the first day I came in, I was, like, afraid to show it. But then my teachers were like, hey, everybody, Isaac has something to share. And then I was like, oh, no. So then I just had to, so I took my hood off and they were like, yay. And they were like, whoa, Isaac, you look really different. And I'm like, I know, it's a big change, but they're still my friends.
For me, it wasn't that big of a change because I had kind of dark blonde hair when I was younger. I had blonder hair. So I just went a little bit lighter and kind of more goldeny to fit the Little Prince vibe. And I really am glad that I did it because I think it's super fun. Also makes me feel a little bit more like the character. Since I've dyed my hair, I've kind of felt more fitting, especially for promo photos. It just kind of made me feel like the Little Prince. So I like it.
What has been the most challenging thing about doing the Little Prince?
I've been wanting to play the Aviator since I was in 6th grade, which is whenever I started theater. It was one of the first shows that I ever saw, and it's kind of been like a dream role of mine. And so, of course, last year at the night of Outcry, whenever they announced it, I was so happy and excited. But now that I actually am this role, I'm super nervous about if I'm playing it right, because I feel like I'm only going to have this one chance to play this incredible role. And I don't know, I think that's probably the biggest challenge, is living up to my own standards of what the Aviator should be.
I also kind of have the same challenge as Brayden. I'm constantly worried about whether or not I'm doing this story justice because, I mean, this story is really a big part of like my childhood. My dad's side of the family is French, so this was always like the kid book that you read when you're going over to your grandparents' house kind of thing. Like Aviator, especially the way my Aviator is, I've been trying to connect it to like a recently deceased family member. So I've just been trying to like bring enough to the table and make sure that I'm making this part just as good as I can.
The biggest challenge I have in The Little Prince is probably crying because like I cry really easily, though I can never do it on command. Like I try and think of something that will make me cry, but I always think like that's not gonna happen. But then I think, oh, that will happen. But then I'm like, but that's not happening right now. So it's kind of hard to get me out of that mindset.
I would say the most difficult challenge for me in The Little Prince is just making him seem super realistic, because the Little Prince, he's an alien. He comes from another planet. He doesn't really have an idea of social norms on Earth. So he's a very big character, but he also needs to seem like realistic and like a real child to make the story authentic. And I think that has been the most difficult part, just bringing both of those things into play and having like a full fleshed out living person.
Why should people come see The Little Prince?
You should come see The Little Prince because it is an awesome story about what it means to be a child and how that applies to being a grown-up. And I think that's super important for people of all ages, not just little kids who have that sense of wonder, but also adults who need to be reminded what that's like.
I think overall it's going to be a really good show, and it's really inspirational to a lot of people.
You should come see The Little Prince because it's very age inclusive. I feel like it's such a story for all ages and all ages. I mean, I think it's a very fun, friendly kids show, but I also think that it hides a lot of different metaphors and a lot of different life lessons inside of it. And that's what I love so much about it.
You should come see The Little Prince because to me, it's just a story that I feel like everybody can relate to, because at any age, like literally any age, you can find a character in the story and just connect with them, and you see what they're going through and you just think, yeah, like I went through that too, or I recognize what that's like. And it's just really feel good show that hides a lot of secrets.
Thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for
having us.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Outcry Theatre Podcast. This podcast has been produced and edited by me, Jason Johnson-Spinos. Our regular host and producer is Becca Johnson-Spinos. For more information about this production and Outcry Theatre, you can find us on Facebook or at our website, outcrytheatre.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your theater-loving friends and leave us a rating and a review in your podcast app.